Hello, you beautiful people. Guess what? It's September at the time of filming this anyway, which means that it's almost October, which means that it's practically spooky season. Hi, I'm Val from Very Vegan Val, and I thought today we'd have a little bit of fun by making some savory Halloween snacks. These are just simple little tricks or hacks that I found on Pinterest, and of course most of them are not vegan, so we will be adapting them for all you herbivorous hellhounds out there. I thought we'd make 5 today, and then we can try them and I'll tell you what I think. Hopefully they are 1, easy, 2, impactful in their spookiness, and 3, something that I actually want to eat. Let's get this potion brewing. First up, pumpkin-shaped pizza bites. Lightly flour our surface. I am just using store-bought dough. I think this will probably do. I don't normally roll pizza dough. Typically I stretch it more like so, but I'm following a recipe kind of. All right, now we're gonna cut circles with a round cutter. We've got our discs. The reason that these are all deforming, sort of spreading into their own shape, is that we did not let that gluten relax enough, but that's fine. Next step. I genuinely do not know what I was doing when I was shopping for this recipe because I have apparently missed at least 2 of the ingredients. Now, originally they suggested you use marinara sauce, which makes sense. Somehow I don't have marinara sauce, probably because I'm bad at prepping for videos. So we're gonna be using a mango chutney because that is what I do have. Next, they want you to add a mozzarella. Of course, I actually did mean to get a vegan mozzarella. I do not know what was going on when I was in that store, and I did not. So we're going to be using this homemade cheese that I have. I actually think I made a video for it quite recently, assuming I published that. I will put a link to that here if you want, but of course, if I were making this and had shopped better, I would just be using mozzarella. Then they say to add 2 pieces of pepperoni, and one of the few things I actually apparently did manage to get is this, which is Trader Joe's vegan pepperoni. Stick that on, I guess. All right, and now we're just going to take the edges, bring them up, and make it into a little ball. All right, I have what's probably about 2 feet of kitchen twine. They just said a long piece. I don't know what that means. And then they have us wrap it around to divide into 8 sections. Again, this is not the most specific instruction I've ever gotten, but that's fine. We'll figure it out, I think. So we got 6. We're gonna go here. And then 1 more for 8. Although now my knot is going to be on the bottom. Just a double knot. And it looks like that is a little bit longer than we needed, but probably about the right size. Coincidentally, I didn't cut enough twine, so I think I'm gonna leave this one as is, as my control. They have you brush each one with an egg wash. Now, I would say that vegan butter would actually be the best option here as an alternative, but I'm going to use aquafaba because I have it readily available right now. For those of you new to the vegan scene, aquafaba is the liquid that is in a can of chickpeas. It has all sorts of interesting properties, some of which are similar to egg whites. I'm going off recipe here, but I think I'm also gonna top a couple of them with a little bit of smoked paprika. I think it will add something visually as well as probably in flavor. Now into the oven. These bake for 15 to 20 minutes. Now that we've got those pumpkins in the oven, let's switch things up with a no-bake recipe. We're gonna be making these little appetizers that look like spiders. Start off with our cucumber. I'm gonna go in with about half a tub of vegan cream cheese. Now this is like very firm cream cheese. So I'm gonna add also just like maybe What do you think? 2 tablespoons of oat milk, and I'm gonna try and soften it up that way. Now, if you want it to be a little less easy hack and a little more good recipe, I would recommend making your own cashew cream here because it will get you a texture closer to what you want anyways, and it will probably taste better. Now we're gonna keep on mashing some, but while we're at it, I'm gonna add this spice, Justice. It is mostly shallots, so, you know, delicious and oniony. And then just the green parts of a green onion. And then we're just gonna transfer it into this reusable piping bag. Again, this is not in the recipe, but my cucumbers are very wet. I think we're gonna be a bit happier if we just blot them lightly with a kitchen towel. So I'm just gonna do like a little dollop in the middle of each. You could do this with a spoon, but I think it would actually be a lot messier. I think this is one of those cases where using the extra tool is actually going to make your life easier and not harder. So here's how our spiders are gonna go. We're gonna start with 1 olive to be the body of the spider. And then we're gonna take a second olive and cut that into little slices like so. And then take these slices and delicately surround our spider. This seems to actually be like slightly too big for our cucumber. I got large olives because I assumed that's what one would want, but maybe you needed a smaller type. The ease this has in no baconness is quickly being eclipsed by the tedium of teeny tiny spider legs. You know, most of us listening to this right now, myself included, have an above average number of fingers. All right, I have 5 more here and I'm not making it past this. This is so tedious, y'all. Let me ask you another question. If you went to a party and were served this, would you think about the fact that someone sat there and touched every individual leg of this spider individually and then shoved them into the cream cheese, getting the cream cheese on their fingers? And would that bother you? Or is it just like, you know, people touch food when cooking, that's normal. We have another broken leg. Obviously, that is not relevant here because it's just gonna be me eating them. Now, unlike most of our other snacks, I would say that shrunken heads aren't really as lighthearted. Shrunken heads actually have a really dark history that goes far beyond, you know, shrinking a head. They've only been recorded to be made in South America, with different groups of people, but all in the Amazon rainforest. They were made for different religious reasons, but essentially it was a way of harnessing the power of your conquered enemies. And you have been warned, if you think that's dark, we're gonna get darker. In the 1900s, Westerners developed an appetite for these shrunken heads, not driven through any religious or cultural practices, but through capitalism. This led to a high demand for these shrunken heads, which led to a market of headhunting, or seeking out innocent individuals to hunt, kill, and preserve for profit. I'm just gonna give an additional little content warning here because I'm gonna be talking about violence to animals. The demand for shrunken heads was far higher than even headhunters could handle. Because of that, it's thought that 80% of the shrunken heads in collections today are actually fake. And when I say fake, I don't exactly mean fake. I mean they're not human. Those shrunken heads were typically made from sloths and monkeys that were just another piece of collateral in humans' morbid curiosity. And while the history of shrunken heads is hard to hear, we're gonna be making some that are just a little bit lighter out of potatoes. We're gonna get our art skills out and we're gonna make some faces. They didn't show like a before picture, which I think might have been helpful because with only the after picture, you're left to guess how we started. It just says carve faces. So here's 2 eyes. Do a nose. That's a weird nose. You got it, nose. Come on. Man, I chose some of the bigger ones intentionally because I thought this would be hard. I think I'm correct. And now, like a skull, like a simplified skull. And then, do you think I need to do more than that, or do you think that will be enough? That is face number 1. We're just gonna stick them on my baking sheet in the oven. They said about 45 minutes until they start to shrivel and are soft. Our next recipe is for some little Babybel mummies. So Babybel are these little wax wrapped cheeses, and they do actually have a vegan type now. I've had it a few times, and honestly, I can never decide if I think they're delicious or kind of disgusting. And then I think I'm also going to cut a few rounds of my cocoa cheese and use that as well. We'll see how they turn out. All right, set these aside. Lightly dust our surface with flour. We've got a thawed sheet of puff pastry. All right, now we're gonna cut it into 9 pieces. So, and then we're gonna set 2 of those pieces aside. With the rest of them, you'll take a jam, or they suggested honey, but we're gonna use this chutney again and just place a small amount down on each pastry. We'll grab our cheeses and just wrap them up. I'm just gonna use this same baking tray and parchment paper as I did with our pumpkins. Now these ones that we set aside, we're just gonna cut into some strips. And then we're gonna take our mummies and wrap them in a couple of these strips. I think, let's try 3. We're just gonna brush with our aquafaba again and bake for about 20 minutes. Talk about explosion, huh? Interestingly, the ones with my homemade cheese seem to have fared all right. All right, this is my solution for the eyeballs. I'm taking some of this cheese that's exploded out and I'm just dipping it on the back and delicately placing my eyeballs on these random splodges of pastry. Finally, we have a bit of a classic. Hot dog severed fingers. Of course, we're using vegan hot dogs. Now this is gonna involve a little bit of carving. So I'm gonna start here by making the fingernail. We're gonna make a crescent shaped nail. Remove it. Let's do this part right here. Just a few lines a little bit below the nail bed. And then of course the knuckle. That's where we're gonna have the deepest line, and I'm actually gonna cut a small amount out for that. And then put some lines on either side. My recipe has you boil them, probably so that the skin of your fingers stays roughly the same color, but I don't know. I don't think hot dogs taste great boiled, so we are just going to lightly toast them. Remember, they are already cooked, so really we're just heating them up. I thought we could add just a touch more fun to our hot dogs by giving them a nail. I'm using this white carrot, but I think that onion would work maybe even better. So I'm just creating a flat slice and then curving it. All right, now we have 4 nails to choose from. We're also gonna need hot dog buns. I got the ones that you can open along the top because I think that'll look nicer. I didn't get the ones you open on the top. I meant to get the ones that you open on the top because I think it's gonna look nicer. Now we can lay down a little bit of ketchup. Just putting a small amount there to sort of hold our fingers. They are kind of puffy and deformed. It's simple. We have our bun, we have our finger, and we want it to look severed. So we're just gonna add on some blood. There we go. bloody hot dog fingers. Let's eat. Starting off with the first ones that we made are little pumpkin. I would say out of easiness, these were maybe a 4 out of 5. They weren't too bad, but tying the twine was a bit finicky. And then of course getting twine off was even more finicky. In terms of effect, I would say, I don't know, 3 out of 5. They're not bad, but a lot of them exploded. I think I must have tied the twine too tight. But then again, if you were to make it looser, it would make it even more finicky to tie on. I do really like where I put the smoked paprika on top. I think it adds a really pretty color and texture. In terms of taste, nice, yeah. They suggest that you serve it with a dipping sauce, and I think that's a good call. I'm just gonna take a little bit of this mango chutney that's on the inside. Yeah, that makes it a lot better. That little bit of added moisture, I think, really offsets how sort of bready it is. Other than that, I'd say this is pretty darn good. It's definitely pizza crust heavy as opposed to toppings, but I do like that you can put kind of whatever pizza-like toppings you like in it. And as long as you like those toppings, I'm sure you'll like them. Would I like to eat it wise? I give this a 5 out of 5. Yeah, if I have a dipping sauce, I'm not complaining. The next thing we made are our cucumber spiders. For easiness, I mean, it's not like it was hard, but it was so tedious. There were like 10 minutes there where I just wanted to like stab something, and that's too long to want to stab something. So for easiness, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. And note that it's not really the easiness that it's the problem, it's the tediousness. Now, if I were to do it again, this is what I would do. I take the filling that I already made and I chop up a bunch of the olives and put it in the filling. Then I do everything like before, but then just only make like 5 of them spiders, because I think it's just as spooky and impactful to have 5 spiders on your plate as it is to have them all be spiders. Cheers. See, I stand by what I said. That was like too much olive. It was good, but it was too much olive. Now, if you just had fewer olives and you put it in this, or maybe even other toppings like fresh herbs, capers, whatever it is you like, that would be the bite. It's fresh and crunchy, but also creamy. Yum. I like that. I would say that with the spider, I give it 3. Would I like to eat it? I would say that without the spider, I'd also give it like a 3 if would I like to eat it. But I would say that in my imagination, with more of the filling mixed in, I give it a 4. In terms of the visual effectiveness, I give this a 5 because I like it and I think it looks spooky. Shrunken heads. Ooh. I think these turned out really cool looking. They do kind of look like shrunken heads or maybe like skulls. In terms of ease, I don't know, like a 3.5 or so. The carving was a little bit challenging, but then also it's very forgiving. So actually maybe a 4 for this. In terms of taste, this is just a potato. There's no salt, there's no oil. It's literally just a potato. So I have a hunch I know what it's gonna taste like. Yeah, it tastes like a potato. I think what you need is some sort of a sauce to dip it in. All right, in terms of what I want to eat this, as it is, with no dipping sauce, literally just a potato. Yeah, like a 2 out of 5. I mean, I can eat it. It's not gonna hurt me, but it's not really bringing me much joy. However, I feel like if you made these and then you like set out a few different dipping sauce options, these are kind of fun. You could almost do like a baked potato bar, but shrunken head style. Next, our Babybel mummies. Now these had an explosion. I lost so much cheese on the pan. And I think this is like one of the tidiest ones. And it really doesn't look like a mummy. It looks like a fun little monster mummy, maybe. I don't know. Shall we give it a taste? Do you want to guess which cheese is in here? My cheese or Babybel? It feels heavy, like it hasn't exploded. That makes me think it's my cheese. Oh yeah. This is the cheese I made. I mean, that's nice. It's warm cheese and puff pastry. Okay, so this one definitely has the Babybel in it. Now, I do think that maybe where we went wrong was actually using puff pastry. I think you could make something similar to this that maybe wouldn't be quite as flaky and delicious, but would work a lot better if you use, say, like a pie crust, you know? Yeah, there's no cheese in this. It's still puff pastry. It's still really good. For ease, I would give this a 4 out of 5. I think it was about as easy as making the pumpkins. You just, you know, wrap, bake. Effectiveness, I would give a 2 out of 5. I think they're cool looking still, but they're definitely not what we set out to make. And do I want to eat thisness? Yeah, 5 out of 5, I want to eat this. Last but not least, we have our severed finger hot dogs. Ease? 5 out of 5, this was simple. Effectiveness? 4 out of 5. You can definitely tell what you're trying to make, although it's not super realistic. And so I think it gets the job done. In terms of would I want to eat it? I think I already mentioned that like ketchup isn't my favorite condiment. I would not really want to eat it. The bread's blah. The hot dog, I actually do like these hot dogs, but when I make a hot dog, I want like a bunch of cabbage and onions on it, mustard, pickles, things like that. Sort of like the shrunken heads. This could be good if it was like the starting point. Like you served these finger hot dogs and then you had a spread of topping options for people. So as is, I would give it a 2 out of 5. I don't really want to eat it, but again, I can. And then if it had more toppings for it, I would give it like a 4 out of 5. I think it's a pretty solid option. This is my ranking from best to worst. Huh? What do you think? You agree? Let me know what your favorite one was in the comments. And other than that, please like this video, subscribe if you want to, and we will see you next time. Bye.